This happened to me about 3 or 4 years ago while I was in 6th grade. Now I am about to be a sophomore. School had just closed and my mom took away my phone and I was pretty upset about it. So I went to bed earlier than I usually do, so about 7 to 8 p.m. I woke up the next morning but didn't open my eyes, so I just lay there, tired. All of a sudden, I feel someone kiss me on my neck. At first, I thought it was my mom, so I just laid there, still angry. I also felt them smile against my neck while their breath was on me, so I thought, oh wow, she wants to laugh at me now. I just went back to sleep and woke up, I assume a few minutes later, and everyone was dead asleep. I didn't think much of it and thought my mom probably went back to sleep. So when I told everyone about it while I was in the middle of 8th grade, my mom and my brother didn't know what I was talking about. A shiver went down my spine. I thought to myself, who would do that and leave a kiss? A few days ago, I started writing a script for a horror short film. I was thinking about my experiences as a kid and what frightened me. The scariest thing I remember is the first one that came to my mind, and also the most recent one that I can remember. When I was 7 or 8 in the middle of the summer, I woke up in the middle of the night. I thought maybe it was because I was cold, which was uncomfortably odd because it was summer, and my bedroom is upstairs and insulated. I moved my curtains aside to see if the window was open, but it was closed tight. While I was looking at the window, I noticed a man standing in the street. The street lamp was on his back, so I couldn't see his face, but he was looking towards our house. What I noticed was he was very tall. I think he was probably 6 to 7 feet. It scared the crap out of me. So I pulled the curtains over the window and used the tacks from one of my posters to lock the curtains down, since the window didn't lock. I covered my head because I knew that my dad would say it was a nightmare and give me a hug before sending me back to bed. I eventually fell back asleep. A few hours ago, I woke up again. It was still very dark out, probably 1 a.m. The first thing I noticed was my bedroom door was open. I always shut my bedroom door because I am a very private person. I got out of bed and went to go to the bathroom. I made sure as I was leaving the bedroom to close my door. Once I was done, as I was going up the stairs, I noticed my door was open. At this point, I was pretty freaked out. I went into my room and my heart dropped into my stomach. My bed covers were turned off my bed. The sheets strewn across the floor. All my pictures and posters were taken off the walls, and the dresser emptied onto my bed. I went into my sister's room because it was right across the hall. I felt even worse when I did this because she was fast asleep, and all the papers have been pulled out of her desk. I woke her up, shaking her as hard as I could. I told her what had happened and we both ran downstairs to my dad's room. He helped us search the house, but we didn't find anything. Nothing had been taken, and me and my sister's room were the only one that had been trashed. We both slept in the living room for a few days because it was my dad's room, but nothing happened. So we went back to life as normal and eventually forgot about it until now. "23-year-old guy here. I live in a pretty safe neighborhood and usually locks my doors. Last night I apparently didn't. It was not too long after I had taken my dogs out for the last time and was turning off the TV and lights when one of my dogs started growling. Not too weird since he sometimes does that when people walk by the house. He only does it to certain people, not everyone. I then heard the front door open, and someone walked in. My dog started barking. My other dog, who loves all people, came running from the other room to greet our guest. At the same time, I was reacting to what was happening and went,
What the fuck? Who are you?
Standing in the hall was a guy in his mid to late 20s. He was skinny and tall.
Wait. I don't think I'm in the right place.
He genuinely seemed confused. I replied with,
Hell no, you are not. Please, get out.
He apologized and said he was coming to hang out with a friend, and just accidentally went to the wrong place. I asked him what house he was looking for, and he said a number that was just a few couple numbers off from mine. He apologized again and left. He seemed nice and non-threatening, but I was still kind of spooked. This morning, I was ready to laugh the whole thing off. I was planning on telling my neighbor, a couple in their 30s, what happened. I don't know them well, but we have talked before. Luckily, I caught with one of them when I was taking out my dogs. I didn't want to come off like I was mad or scared over what happened, so I casually said,
I'm sure he told you about it, but your friend paid me a surprise visit last night.
My neighbor gave me this confused look and said,
What are you talking about?
Oh, your friend. He walked into my house last night, thinking it was your place.
My neighbor was quiet for a second and then said,
Well, I don't want to alarm you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. We didn't have a friend over last night.
One day, my mom and my sister went away for the day, leaving my dad and I alone. Just after they left, I told my dad I was going out with my friends and that I won't be back for a few hours. I opened my window so that my room could cool down for me when I come back. I was 16 at the time, and I realized every time I went to bed, I could feel a cold air on me. You need to realize my room is extremely warm, especially because the sun is bearing through into it for a lot of the day. The first night I didn't think of it as anything. However, the second night I felt the same cold air, and my bed sheets felt surprisingly cold as well. Yet again, I thought it was nothing to worry about. This is the scary part. The next morning, I woke up to my window being open. I asked both my parents and sister if, for some reason, they opened my window. They all said no, and there was no reason to lie. My dad and I then decided to go down to my room and investigate. I told my dad about me feeling a constant cold air when I went to sleep. My dad then told me that 5 minutes after I went out with my friends a couple of days ago, he went into my room and closed the window because he felt the room was getting too cold. My dad then decided to see if there was anything to make the air in the bed cold and decided to check under the bed. Under the bed was a corpse. We phoned the police immediately and told them about the scary situation. The police told us a killer was killing people around town and leaving corpses in people's home. However, they told us the killer left them normally in garages and sheds, and my situation was the first in the area. The killer was finally caught, but sadly, murdered 2 other people and did the exact same thing twice. I slept twice with a corpse under my bed. It is safe to say I'm never opening my window ever again. Background: I live in a high-crime country, so my home has an alarm linked to a private security, and the property is surrounded by a high wall. There is a roll-down steel garage door in the wall which gives access directly into the street. I just had a baby a few days ago,
and was sitting in the lounge watching TV while the baby slept next to me. I heard the exterior garage door making opening noises, but think it is probably just my husband stopping by to check on us, since the baby is so new and he was working close by that day. Then I realized that my dog's barking has not changed pitch. If it was my husband coming home, their barks would have changed to excited yipping. So I hobble into my bedroom, which has a view of the exterior door, and see a strange man has popped the side of the door open with a crowbar and is slithering through the gap into my property. No problem, this is why we have security. So I ran to the lounge and hit the panic button, which is supposed to set off the house alarm and send an SOS to the security company. The panic button does nothing. It is completely dead. I run back to the bedroom. My mind is just blank from panic. By now, the man is starting to climb through the windows. It dawns on me that nobody is coming to help, and my new baby is just in the other room. There is no time to phone anyone, so I hack the fuck out. Bunch up my shoulders, start screaming like a banshee, and run directly at the man. I am 5'2", with a deflated pregnant belly, so couldn't have looked very scary. But he must have shot it, because he just let go of the window frame and literally fell onto the ground before scrambling up and backed out of the popped open outside door. I was shaking and crying. If he had kept coming, I don't know what I would have done. My husband was home within minutes, and we fixed the panic button the same day. Strange man in the window. Let's not meet again. When I was 7 years old, my father took my older brother and I to a cabin in the middle of literally nowhere for the week as a vacation. We also took our cat with us. Everyone has their own room, and I had a room furthest from the other two, positioned right where the woods started. There was a window right next to my bed on the right side, and there was a tree right next to it that I remember getting to climb the previous day without success. The bedrooms were on the second floor, by the way, and the window didn't have any curtains or blinds to cover it. One night, I remember feeling really homesick and being unable to sleep. The cat was laying on my bed with me, and I was reading a comic book with a flashlight when around 2 a.m. I began to hear a tapping on my window. I assumed that it was just a tree branch tapping on the window because it was a windy night until I began to hear whispers. Psst.
Hey.
And I remember just freezing in fear and feeling like a bunch of ice water had just been poured into me. I could hear whoever it was tapping and saying things like,
Open up, son. It's Daddy. Let me in, Luke. It's cold out here.
And the worst one that I heard,
Come on, it's Daddy. I just wanna cuddle.
I was too paralyzed by fear to do anything but just lay on my side, facing away from the window, terrified and close to tears. I knew it wasn't my father, and in my imagination, I thought it was the boogeyman or some other creature that would gladly kill me. All the while, my cat was hissing and clawing at the guy, and I just remember holding him and burying my face in his fur because he felt like a safety net. My one defense against this guy, because I couldn't work up the nerve to call my father. And then I remembered a horrible screeching noise, and I turned around to look to see what it was. I could see this guy with the most maniacal grin that I've ever seen, like something out of a horror movie, dragging a pocket knife against the glass, making this horrendous noise, and I screamed bloody murder. The grin disappeared, and he just looked like a combination of horrified and absolutely full of rage. But then my father came barreling into my room with his hunting rifle, and
As you can imagine, seeing this made the guy panic and just sort of drop backwards. My father just looked at me to make sure I was alright, and then my brother ran in before he went to go off and catch the guy before he got away. But unfortunately, it wasn't a long drop, and the man probably only got few bruises from it. He was gone by the time my father got down there, and we waited the night. Nobody slept before we packed up and went back home. To this day, I don't think they ever caught the guy, though I remember my father filing a police report and me having to talk to the police to give a description. And I'm still grateful for my cat, who turns 14 this week and is still feisty as ever, for providing me comfort during that time. To whoever was outside my window that night, I hope we never meet again.